It might just change, you know, what people use for bounty hunting. I don't know. You just simply can't use yaw to turn like you can in space in the Gladius. Oh, well, he crashed right into the mountain, didn't he? You're gonna have to balance how fast you kill things with how fast you get to the target as well, so... You can definitely tell the AI is performing a little differently in atmosphere. In terms of yaw, the Vanguard actually turns better with yaw than the Gladius does in Atmo. Which might surprise a few people. Knowing that your bounties are going to be in atmosphere means that you might pick a different ship. Wow, I think I actually shot down that missile. Of course, if you get a straight run on them like that, then they're just going to explode. As you can see, you're still not perfectly locked into atmospheric flying. I'm gonna check out the atmospheric bounties here on PTU. And what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a few of them in the Gladius, a few of them in the Sabre, and a few of them in the Vanguard to compare how the different ships behave in atmosphere. So these are all new bounties. As before, we never had bounties around MicroTech and its moons. There's now bounties around every planet and its moons in 3.16. And not only that, they're bounties that take place in the atmosphere. So there's a lot more potential for visiting many, many more different locations. Yes, I agree. Atmospheric bounties do sound amazing. From the couple that I did so far, a little bit earlier, they're pretty cool. They're not much different than the space ones, but they're still pretty cool. So we'll start with the Gladius, and we'll see how that performs. One thing about some of these atmospheric bounties compared to the ones in space is these ones don't appear to have markers that will take you directly to them. So if we check our map, yeah, so there is a location for them, but there's no quantum beacon, so we do have to take it in manually, basically. So these do take longer to reach than the existing bounties. So we're starting with the Gladius, then we're going to do the Sabre, then we're going to do the Vanguard. And the reason why I'm going to switch through the different ships while doing so is because of any kind of differences how they perform in atmosphere. So like, for example, the Gladius, when you're at speed in the Gladius, you can't simply use yaw. If you watch my pedal movement, pedals are yaw for me. You just simply can't use yaw to turn like you can in space in the Gladius. It does not handle that at all. If you want to turn, you have to roll into your turn and pitch like an airplane. And then of course you want to use a little bit of yaw to help with that turn as well. But it's not a pure yaw turn like you can do in space with the Gladius. And as we move to the Sabre, we'll see how that differs. But it's really just about when you get to SCM speed in the Gladius that those effects start to become dominant. At lower speeds, it is not that affected by those atmospheric mechanics. Another effect of atmosphere is top speed is going to be a little bit more limited. With the speed limiter released right now, I'm only hitting 340 with cruise enabled, so. See how fast that bounty marker updated there? That was really fast compared to live. Hopefully that carries over. So looks like there's going to be a little bit of a mountain range coming up here where this bounty's going to be. Oh, well, he crashed right into the mountain, didn't he? Yeah, that's pretty cool. I wasn't even thinking of the weather having effects on things like that, like my visibility. Having actual terrain is really cool because that gives some tactics for like just blocking their missiles and stuff. I mean, not that the bounty AI is particularly difficult, but does make things a lot more interesting. It should. If it was a player's ship, it definitely would. In fact, it would drop like a cargo box. But I don't think the NPC ships currently do that. Probably because it's too much to clean up currently. But yeah, you can see here how yaw is not affected at lower speeds. I can pretty much freely yaw all I like, but once I get up to speed, I lose the ability to yaw in order to change direction. It has to be pitch and roll. And even then there's a limit. So I'm just above SCM right now, and I cannot yaw to complete a turn. Once I get under SCM, then I can yaw all I like in the Gladius. So let's do one more in the Gladius, just to establish a little bit of a baseline there, and then we will switch out for the Sabre, and I will show the differences between those two ships.
Velvet joined your channel stream team on Vatalis.
Ahoy!
Well, hello. So this looks like another one that does not have a quantum beacon. So we're gonna have to go around the planet, or the moon in this case. One nice thing about this whole thing is being able to not be restricted to Crusader or Hurston in order to bounty hunt. Let's go across this frozen ocean here and come into the mountain range. Want to be careful about coming in so our turn rate doesn't get destroyed. Let's do another little test of the AI. Let me get around this mountain and see what this other guy does. Oh, he avoided the mountain. Okay, so that one 50-50 so far.
Sure would be nice if you could get a Rain-X treatment for your windscreen or something.
Yeah. Hello. Yes, we're streaming a little earlier than normal. Because if I don't do it now, I won't be able to do it. So one thing I noticed there when I was fighting was that, I mean, this has always been the case, or at least has recently been the case ever since they did a lot of those combat changes, or maybe even earlier than that, but with the Gladius, it's a little bit more of a struggle due to fighting against the air. So if you're used to flying it in space, shooting things in space, it's a little different shooting things in atmosphere. And that's just sort of the way that some ships behave in atmosphere right now. But
especially if you're trying to fight weather conditions, you don't have quite that fine input that you would in space with your thrusters.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, the Gladius performs much more like an airplane in atmosphere compared to space. But as we move to a couple other ships here, we'll find that that's not necessarily the case. In fact, it's not really going to be the case at all. Could it change the meta? I don't know. Probably not. Everyone's still probably just going to run around and shoot things with ions or whatever. Oh wait, they changed that.
Yeah, they already tweaked that a little bit, did they not?
Yeah.
Good.
So yeah, let's go back to Tresler. We'll switch out for the Sabre, so we'll compare a medium fighter to a light fighter. Again, I only can test the ships that I have access to, and I already pretty much know how this is going to go, so... But it might surprise you.
Get that clickbait bullshit the fuck out of here!
Yeah. Something like that. So do you guys already know the answer? What one's going to turn better in atmosphere? The Sabre or the Gladius? Or do you want to guess?
Eventually, the idea is to have, on some ships, functioning control surfaces for atmosphere flight, right?
That is eventually the idea, yes.
I'd expect when that day rolls around, it'll be the Sabre. As for what'll happen in 5 minutes when you fly down, I really can't. I'm really not sure. It could go either way.
What do you guys think in the chat? There's the Sabre. Let's grab our next bounty. Looks like this one's on MicroTech proper. And it looks like this one's right above a mining facility location. Stone Paladin says Gladius will turn better. Okay, let's see. Hedgestock says, well, I mostly watch without ever playing, so no clue. Okay. Well, let's check it out. So the Sabre cuts through atmosphere quite nicely, and we have much more range and yaw even at speed than the Gladius. We don't have to give as much pitch, and our turning is not as determined as on pitch than the Gladius is. The Sabre is also more stable in terms of aiming in atmosphere compared to the Gladius. Now, who knows what that's going to look like in the future, but that's what it looks like right now. Stone Paladin, the Super Hornet, and basically all medium fighters need a lot of love right now, I feel. I'm behind you on that 100%. I think Billbot is too.
Yes. Yeah, I think the Super Hornet, well, the Hornets in general need at least another 25% weapon capacitor charge. Put that in right now. No further testing required.
Bounties over a forest.
I suppose a really big, well, with regard to the Hornet, that armor missing from the equation, that's a big deal.
Yep.
I assume it'll be a big deal anyway. I expect it to be a fairly big deal.
You can definitely tell the AI is performing a little differently in atmosphere. They definitely don't have the maneuverability that they do in space. At least that's what it feels like. But yes, armor. Armor will change a lot.
I hope.
I hope so too. Stone Paladin's also on board with the armor. Alright, let's do one more atmospheric bounty in the Sabre, and then we'll try the Vanguard. Let's go Triari Deltana. If they can give us some interesting terrain to fight around for these atmospheric bounties and, you know, increase the challenge as they rank up and do some other stuff with them. I don't even care if they take longer. If they take longer to do, but they're more interesting to do, then that's better. Even if they pay the same amount.
I could prioritize entertainment and engagement over money per hour.
Yeah. And if they can get bounties working in atmosphere, if they can get random encounters working in atmosphere as well, that would be quite nice. Top Gun canyons, some kind of like, I don't know, mechanical facility with like all kinds of like pipes and towers and stuff you need to weave through, and or even bigger cave. Can you imagine if there was like even bigger caves that you could fly into and bounties were inside these huge chambers and winding tunnels, and you like go inside and, like what's the game, Descent, stuff like that would just be really, really cool. Turrets shooting at you from all directions.
That's some old school arcade shit right there.
Oh, that guy we picked up from quite a ways away. Oh, it's a freelancer, that's why. Big signature.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day we'll have that.
Yeah, maybe. As you can see, you're still not perfectly locked into atmospheric flying. You can definitely, at least in the Sabre for sure, still maneuver around to some degree with 6 degrees of freedom. I'm gonna go down to New Babbage because I forgot this was PTU, and I forgot I don't have all the things I want, because I want to put repeaters on to continue repeaters to repeaters. Even though the ships have different turn rates and stuff like that, I want to make sure that I'm consistently using the same weapons for the same pip deflection across different ships, just to get that kind of experience feedback.
The The ship and the handling has to change, not the targeting.
Right. So we're gonna go quickly grab some repeaters for the Vanguard. Fortunately, they are sold right here at MicroTech, so same question as before. Now what do you think is going to perform better?
I dare say it'll be the Sabre. That's pretty tough to beat.
Sabre, Vanguard, Gladius. What do you guys think? Alright, let's grab the next bounty. Of course, the Vanguard is heavier to begin with. I think we got a bit, yeah, we got a bit closer that time, only 230 kilometers to go.
You almost can't ask for anything better than that.
No, not really, not with that.
Unless you've got a perfect jump cancel straight over the top of your target.
Yep. So in atmosphere, the Vanguard does overturn compared to the Sabre and the Gladius. But it kind of does that in space anyway. We'll get some lower altitude and we'll compare. So Vanguard's obviously slower in Atmo by about 100. Well, actually, no. Not quite that bad. Yeah, okay, about 100. But yaw-wise is basically unrestricted, unlike the Gladius. So in terms of yaw, the Vanguard actually turns better with yaw than the Gladius does in Atmo. Which might surprise a few people. You can definitely tell when yawing is taking place. There's a little bit of threshold. There's a threshold right there. You can tell it slows a little bit. And then as we swing back around and the nose comes more towards facing in the direction that we're traveling, the speed picks up just a little bit, but there is a little bit of a threshold that has to be overcome to completely 360. So even across those three ships, the Gladius, the Sabre, and the Vanguard, you're still going to want to add an element of roll and pitch into the turn.
A little bit less than I expected, though.
But given the choice between a Gladius and a Sabre in atmosphere right now, I would definitely go with the Sabre. Best loadout for the Vanguard. What do you want to kill? And do you have a gunner? Or do you have a gunner or somebody to help cover you? PvE, it's probably just going to be an all full cannon build. So MVSAs and like an M7A basically. Especially if you're going after ERT bounties. Killing hammerheads. If you want to be able to tackle just about anything pretty easily, you can do the mixed loadout and enable and disable the size 5 mount. That gives you a crap ton of capacity in the repeaters for the nose. So use the GVSRs. And by enabling and disabling that size 5, which you'd want it to be a cannon, It prevents the cannon's lower velocity from making it harder to aim with the repeaters. And if you are pretty much exclusively going up against other players, I'd recommend a full repeater loadout, simply because you just don't have the affordance to use weapons that are going to deflect the pip that much on the Vanguard. At least that's been my experience with it. I'm not the greatest player in the world at it, but given the turn rate of the Vanguard versus smaller things, especially if you don't have a turret gunner, you need the faster velocity weapons. Just so the pip is not, just so the pip is closer to the target. But I often like to run the hybrid middle of the road build. As for the turret, you definitely want the laser repeaters on the turret right now. That's just the way that turrets work. There's no point in putting cannons, which are, you know, efficient on the capacitor, when the turret already has a ridiculously good capacitor. And the turret can put out sustained DPS like a light fighter. Not the burst DPS, but if somebody tries to stick to you, the turret can provide quite a bit of boost of firepower.
Keep that shield regen down at the very, very least.
Yeah. Alright, we are finally approaching this bounty. In terms of mileage, though, in terms of, to just go back to Vanguard loadouts, the all-cannon loadout will take you much further without having to reload. The AD5B will fire for about 2 minutes, and then you'll need to reload it, so... You do have to still choose when you want to use it. Alright, here we go. Looks like this bounty is not updating yet.
Uh-oh.
They might increase it for other weapons, but I don't know if they will increase it for the, say, the Ion and the AD5B. Or not the Ion, the Inferno. The Vanguard definitely has a little bit more instability in it compared to the Sabre. I don't think the game is using my capacitor settings properly right now. The Rhino's charging really fast, but the GVSRs are not. Yeah, they might increase the ballistics. I hope what they do is they have really long reload cycles for ballistic weapons, but the same magazine sizes. So in other words, if you get caught with your pants down in a reload cycle, then you can get screwed. So they're kind of like an alternative to the capacitor system. Looks like it's charging properly now. But yeah, I hope what they do is they add something like a magazine and reload thing where, you know, you still have, you know, you can't just fire the weapon continuously. Or even if there's like a heat, maybe it's a heat mechanic that they need. Maybe mechanical weapons just heat up too much, or whatever they end up doing. It would be cool if there was sort of like the trade-off is larger magazine sizes, but when you know, use up that magazine, then it's a lot longer time to restore it versus, say, a capacitor, which has like a smaller magazine size, but it continuously regenerates. That's what I personally hope that they do. Alright, where's this one? Looks like it's MicroTech proper again. Well, that marker updated pretty quick. I have to say, out of the 3 ships that I've tried, I'd have to say if I was doing exclusively atmospheric bounties, I would probably go with the Sabre. Because the Sabre has a good top speed through atmosphere. It's got really good maneuverability in atmosphere compared to both the Gladius and the Vanguard. And, you know, 4 size 3s. You're going to have to balance how fast you kill things with how fast you get to the target as well, so... It might just change, you know, what people use for bounty hunting. I don't know. I do love those large capacitors in the Vanguard when using all size 4s, though. The large magazine sizes. But that's nothing that can't really be handled by staggering the weapon groups in the Sabre. Alright, let's grab the next bounty. Might as well test it. Oh, Charles Little Benny. Not Big Benny. Little Benny. Did he steal the noodles? Okay, so... significantly worse performance at speed than the Vanguard in the Constellation in Atmo. Looks like we're heading to Calliope. Alright, this one's right over our Schumann processing facility here, so we'll get to that one pretty quick. Connie has like and it cannot yaw at speed as good as the Vanguard can, which was expected. Definitely the least fun to fly out of any of their options that we've tested so far. Oh. This is a hostile facility with turrets. This is exactly what we were asking for before. For Bounty spawning on top of. There's another player here probably trying to do this mission. Or rather, the mission that's at the underground facility. Okay, so Connie, wouldn't be my preference anyway. It would definitely be better in space. But I think that's the kind of the key part of this. Knowing that your bounties are going to be in atmosphere means that you might pick a different ship for doing them than you would knowing that they're going to be in space. Oh, there's one more of course that we have to try. Simply because we can. The Redeemer, of course. Although really it's a bit silly to use the Redeemer without it being crewed. It makes more sense to use a Connie without a crew than the Redeemer, but I feel like the Redeemer is actually a little bit more maneuverable in atmosphere than the Connie. Let's actually see how that plays out. Alright, let's see. Redeemer. Gotta go for fancy paint. Alright, we'll put some of those on there. Pretty sure the gimbals on the Redeemer are still bugged, so we'll just put some rhinos on. Alright, perfect. Alright, let's find the next bounty. Grab that. Back to Calliope. Alright, I guess we're gonna go straight down then. Gonna intentionally give myself a little bit of a run up here so we can play around in Atmo for a moment. Now, the Redeemer definitely feels like it is more maneuverable than the Constellation in Atmo. At speed, of course. Still very prone to overshooting. Wow, I think I actually shot down that missile. Of course, if you get a straight run on them like that, then they're just going to explode. But by comparison, it definitely has more maneuverability than the Connie does in Atmo. But I have to say, out of those ships that we had looked at there, exclusively doing atmospheric bounties, I would pick the Sabre for sure. Hands down. Alright, I think I'm going to call it there because it will be soon time to get food and a bunch of other stuff, so... That was fun testing. I like those atmospheric bounties. There's a lot of potential more gameplay that they can add with that, so that's good. See what happens when it hits live. Alright, well, calling it here. You guys have a good one. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll catch you next time.